My grandfather Felix played a very important part, obviously, in Lions and gave his life to it, although I'm not sure he had his heart in it. I'd quite like to find out things about him that I didn't know, couldn't have known when I was a child.
Felix and his wife Rosemary spent their last years at a house in North London.
You know, I haven't been there since I was 9, which is when my grandfather died. And such fond memories of the house and the garden. Got no idea how reliable they are, and I'm almost frightened to find out. My grandfather was a really big part of my life, but really more because of his absence. My mother was very attached to him. I remember how awful it was for her when he died. He holds some position as a sort of figure of mystery. We think of him as a kind of tortured, bit of a tortured soul. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's 35 years since Nigella last visited Felix and Rosemary's house.
Hello, it's so lovely of you to let me come.
Isn't it? Oh, it's very nice to have you here.
Thank you so much.
So
So you actually bought the house from my grandparents, didn't you?
Yes. Come in, come in. There's not much left of your grandmother's... Oh, the lights.
Yes.
They were there.
That's the
But
kitchen.
do you remember the kitchen?
I do remember the kitchen.
Do you want to see the kitchen?
I'd love to see the kitchen. I used to stand on a chair, and I thought the cooker was there, but maybe it was there. Stand on a chair and cook with my granny. It's very like it was, really. I mean, it's decorated differently, but has the same feel. Such a lovely house.
Outside, Nigella's arranged to meet her brother and sister, Dominic and Horatia.
Hello. Hello. I'm coming to join you.
They have varying memories of Felix and Rosemary.
I used to love this garden.
I remember Granny being furious because you remember that Paul McCartney moved in next door,
Yes.
and there were always fans camped out, just sitting on the
Remember they used to
outside
climb
It must
over.
have been such a clash because they weren't a popular
Also, I don't
music
think Grandpa.
people,
I don't
were
think
they?
Grandpa had ever heard of the Beatles. I think he really would have been like the judge, saying, "Who are
Yes,
the
I
Beatles?"
know, I'm sure.
And
I can't really remember him ever coming out of his study.
well, that was where he used to say to me, "Come into the captain's cabin." That's what he called the study.
But we weren't allowed, the girls. I don't think we ever came in.
It was very male. It was very sort of dark. He taught me chess there, I remember.
Yes.
But I, funnily enough, I mean, you knew Rosemary
Very well.
Very well. I didn't know her at all well. I was completely besotted with Felix.
But I gather he was a taciturn person. Anyway, very dry.
I think he was quite a hard person to know, actually.
Did Rosemary ever suggest that he was like that because of the war?
I mean, the war was it must have been difficult in more than one ways for a family, in that, you know, they were a well-known Jewish family. They knew that the Nazis had them on a list of Jewish families to be taken care of and rounded up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty certain that they manufactured their own cyanide pills that they would take if they were ever rounded up.
Oh, really?
I do seem to recollect that he had some experience in the war that would have been profoundly shocking, and for some reason I don't know whether I'm sure he wouldn't have told me. Maybe Mummy did, that he had seen one of the camps. Maybe it was Belsen. That he was with some of the troops who had been involved.
I didn't know that. Granny never mentioned
Well, but-
Aunt
anything.
Frida
Yeah.
mentioned it to me quite
Well,
late on.
Did she? Oh, really? Well, I mean, people didn't talk about these things, and particularly not in front of children. But certainly, something probably happened to him, and
Yes.
I have a sense that he did witness something pretty terrible.
I did find it disturbing to be reflecting on my grandfather's experiences. I'd quite like to sort of see if I can find out what he might have done, or, you know, what his experiences might have been. And especially that thing that Dominic said, that he was a witness, could have been a witness to Belsen. I find that extraordinary, and I need to know whether that's true.
Nigella's come to the Imperial War Museum in London.
His application.
Curator of the Holocaust exhibition, Suzanne Barget, has found some documents about Felix.
Application for registration in the Officers' Emergency Reserve in His Majesty's Land Forces.
Yes.
And then, when they ask for any other information, he says he has a thorough knowledge of staff administration in the bakeries, kitchens and restaurants of J. Lyons & Co. Limited, thorough practical and technical knowledge of catering factory management and control, knowledge in the purchasing of commodities.
So he signed up.
So he signed up, that's right.
At the outbreak of World War II, Felix became an officer at Aldershot, where the Army School of Catering was based.
So he was in the catering corps. Do you have anything you can show me to say whether, he was part of the force that was at Belsen?
Well, we've got here your grandfather's service records, which we can look at. On the 1st of July 1944, he embarks with 2nd Army at Southampton as a catering advisor. So obviously supporting the troops that went over on D-Day and fought up through Northwest Europe. Then he returns to the UK, but then goes back again to Northwest Europe on the 14th of January 1945 and stays there through until the 5th of June 1945. Well, Belsen was liberated on the 15th of April 1945, so certainly the dates fit.
Yes.
Bergen-Belsen in northwest Germany was the first Nazi concentration camp to be liberated by British troops. On arrival at the camp, the soldiers discovered 10,000 dead. But there were also 50,000 survivors who had endured disease and starvation.
It's strange, really, isn't it, to see it on that bit of paper. It's like it fits the puzzle, and it's the missing time.
If there is this family memory that he saw a concentration camp, it's very likely was Belsen. And as he was fairly senior within the catering corps, it's very likely that his advice was sought on how to improve the supply of food to Belsen. And certainly that was a crucial thing for the army at that stage.
Quite a thing to come out of the kitchens of, a Lion's tea rooms and go into Belsen.
Nigella, if you'd like to have a seat here, we've got some documents out of the archive for you to have a look at, and they're all accounts by people who went to Belsen. You might find it interesting just to read what the impressions of those people were.
Thank you. Thank you
Pleasure.
very much, Suzanne. This vicar's writing about Belsen, saying, he felt that he ought to write this partly because something seemed to tell me that many may say it's a flight of my imagination. This camp has dealt in one commodity in a very large way. That commodity is death.
I am the Reverend T.J. Stretch. I've been here 8 days, and never in my life have I seen such damnable ghastliness. This morning we buried over 5,000 bodies. We don't know who they are. Behind me you can see a pit which will contain another 5,000. There are 2 others like it in preparation. All these deaths have been caused by systematic starvation and typhus and disease, which have been spread because of the treatment meted out to these poor people by their SS guards and their SS chief.
Well, it's awful. It's